I did some soul searching, a lot of research, and decided to come to a new career field. Landed in the world of application development, and that's what brought me here to Centric. I found throughout this time that there are a lot of skills that I had to use in my past career that I need to use and I will be using as a application developer. Things like problem solving, communications, teamwork. Those are the type of things that we've been using here in class, and it's very similar to the type of stuff I had to do in my prior jobs. I also like that I'm going to be able to create things, and those things that I can create is limited only by my imagination. You've heard a lot about the Job Finder project. Obviously, it's a application that people can use to manage their job search, manage information about companies, job postings, contacts, and communications with people about jobs. So I want to talk briefly about the database. There is a copy of the ERD in my handout. For me, the hardest part about designing the database was deciding what fields should be allowed to be null or not entered into the database. Almost every field we have in here is important, things like city, state, zip code, but you might not always have that information at hand, and I wanted to make this application as user-friendly as I could. So I left many fields like that, that you could leave them empty, knowing that you might be in a hurry, you might just have found a company, want to make sure you have it loaded so you can get back to it later, and then you can come back and put that information in at a later time. The one field that did cause a few interesting challenges later on was the, as Greg was talking about, the job postings field in the communications. Leaving this field null meant that you could post a communication that was not related to a specific job. You may have talked, I may have talked to Tina about a company, but it might not be related to a specific job posting, but I might want to keep track of that. The thing that made that challenging as a developer was that the joins I had to do in my select statement had to be outer joins so that I could make sure that I had all the information listed in my display on the page when you got to it. Again, like the other sites, this is a secured site. It is made for a single user at this time. If you go to one of the pages, if you just want to go to the company's page, you can see information about the companies. See the logos, you can select on them and get details about them, but at this point you can't edit, delete, or insert any companies. This was done by hiding some of the buttons in the pre-render event of the page, and then once you log in, those buttons become visible. So if you go back to the home page, I found that I had a lot of space left on this page, and instead of making a separate login page, I decided to use my home page as a login page. This login control and the password recovery tool are located in a login view, so they'll be seen when you are not logged in, when you are an anonymous user. And if you go ahead and log into the website.
Is that case sensitive?
I think so.
It's not like
You can see when you get to the, when you log in, the login control, the password recovery tool go away, and you have your name shows up, you have a login status that will allow you to log out, and you also have a change password tool if you decide that you need to change your password. If Marcus found out what my password was, I wanted to change it quickly before he could do anything, I could go ahead and change it here.
because I'm malicious.
Yes, malicious Marcus would come in and cause you some problems. The first page that anybody would need to go to on this site is the company's page. It is the first piece of data that you have to put in. The reason for this is that if you try to put in a job posting or contact, there is a field there that is related to the companies. If you try to post information in there, it would ask you for the company. If the company doesn't exist, you couldn't enter it at that point. So this is the first page. As you can see, there is a button now for adding a new company. You can change the status, a soft delete, change it from active to inactive. There is a place when you, we'll come back to that. There is a hyperlink view jobs. If you clicked on one of those, it will take you to the job posting page and show you any job postings that are related to that company. And you can go directly there, and that page will automatically be filtered by that company. If you go back to the company's page, and you click on, like let's say Barclay, advertising agency here in town. You have information about them. It has an image, their company logo, and you can see that their website is actually an active hyperlink. If you went ahead and clicked on their website, you'll be taken directly to their webpage if you wanted to get some information there. Maybe you forgot something about what kind of stuff they do. You're going in for an interview the next day, and you want to make sure you're up to date on everything that they do. And the final thing is we'll go and actually insert a new company. So if you go back to the company's page, you can go down, there's an Add New Company button. Click on it, and you can start filling out, I'll let Mark start filling out the fields. When I talk about, there is an image uploader. So you can put in a picture for the company, a logo for the company. There is a default. If you do not have an image, a no image available logo would pop up. That would be stored in the database under an image URL field. So basically, using a little bit of link, once you hit the button, the program goes out and finds out what the next entry will be into the database. It names the file with that number, that unique identifier, so that if you have pictures, logos that happen to have the same name, they won't be confused, so this will be uniquely identified to this particular company. So you see there's a drop-down list for all the foreign key values, things like industry, size. There are separate tables in the database that allow for that. So hit browse, go out to the desktop, there should be a logo there. There. We'll leave the notes blank right now. I know one or two things about the company, so I'm not worried about the notes. You hit insert, it'll take you back to the grid view, and if you go to page 2, you'll see that your company is listed with the logo, and you hit select, you can get to the details of that company. The next page we'll go to is the job postings page. One of the things that makes this page different, like as other people had, it's not just a one status, not active or inactive. There are actually 6 different statuses, 3 of them active, 3 of them inactive. Because of this, I didn't really want to have a soft lead through the grid view because it's a bit too complicated. If you actually want to change the status of job posting, you would go to edit it by selecting on job posting, going to edit, and if you go down, there is a combo box down towards the bottom that says status, and you can pick your new status there. A little bit more work, but because I wanted to be able to have more than one, a yes or no in that situation, that's how I had that working. Again, there's another hyperlink in the grid view there. That'll take you to communications this time based on that specific job entry. If you pick on one, you go back to job posting Marcus. I think the first one. If there isn't any communications with that company, the empty data text the property has been populated to have a statement saying that there are no job posting or communications directly related to that job posting. One other thing I did, if you can go back to job posting Marcus and just click on any of them. You notice here there's a field relocation necessary and it has no. Normally this would show up as a checkbox, and I felt that was a little not very user friendly. The check mean yes, this mean no. So what I did is I put a label in the place there. Instead of it saying true or false, in the pre-render of that label, I changed true to yes and false to no. And I did that for any of those throughout the job site. If it was whether it's active or inactive, any place that shows up throughout the site, it has something wording that's a bit more user-friendly than just a checkbox or true or false, something that would intuitively make sense, more conversational, if you will. So, you go to the to the context page. There is a combo box up at the top that will allow you to filter the contacts by company. Right now, there's only a few contacts on the page, but if your job search goes on for 2 months, 3 months, 18 months, you will probably have more than a few contacts. having a way to filter up there at the top makes it much easier, quicker to use this application. The other thing is, if we will go and just to show you what the edit looks like, if you go click on Neil and go to edit, let's say we now have Neil's mobile number, we can put that in. And if our notes have changed for him, if we have something else we want to add, we can make that change here as well. Last page I'd like to show is the communication page. I have actually 3 places here you can filter on this page, either my job posting, company, or contact. One of the things about those boxes, if you go ahead and choose something from one of them, you see that there are no communications. And then if you want to go by company and choose something, you'll notice that the job postings filter is reset to its beginning position, choose a posting. This way, if you're looking at the site and you forgot which drop-down list you used, you can look up at the top and realize, oh, I was filtering by company at this point, instead of having all 3 of them on a different, going back to what you had used before. Also, the communications page is the only page where you can make a hard delete on this application. You can do that by going to the details, by selecting on a communication. Go ahead and click on it, and at the bottom right, you'll see the delete button. It does ask for a confirmation, so you really would have to goof up twice if you really wanted to delete that communication. So that's the basic functionality of my site. Once we finished the project, I took a lot of time and thought to myself, if I only knew what at this point what I do now, what would I do differently? You know, no project's ever completely finished. I mean, it's been 30+ years. George Lucas is still tinkering with Star Wars, so I figured if George Lucas can tinker with that a little bit, I could probably still work on C.S.A. a little bit. So some of the things I would have done differently. I would have done a lot more research at the beginning of the project than I did. There were times where I was getting through the project and I would have an idea that would come up that I hadn't thought of prior, and to actually go ahead and implement it at that time or change it was going to take a lot more work than I actually had time for to finish the project. And I think if I would have taken a little bit more time at the beginning of the project and thought it through a little bit more, I might have come up with those ideas and actually been able to implement them. Right now, as I said, this is a single user site. I think if it was going to be based out there on the web, it would be much better as a multi-user project. I probably would have added a user table into my database and then used user ID field and all of those, all the other tables, so that when you logged in, you would only see the information that you had entered. And if it was going to be a single person application, it would probably be something that would try to make into a program that you would download onto your personal computer and be able to use in that way. The filtering that I had on the communications page, I would probably go back and try to add that to every page on the website. I think it definitely would make it much more user-friendly for someone who is using it. They're very helpful. They're not very difficult to do, other than as I said, the job postings filter at the top, because you did not have to have a job posting for the communications, as you can see there. I would also like to add a FAQ page. If you're going to have this site out there on the internet, if it's going to be used by multiple people for both a multi-user project, I'd like to make it user-friendly by making it have a place where they can go and look up information. You know, why can't I enter a job posting? And it would probably suggest that you might want to go to the company's page first and make sure you have something there. Those type of things, and then have a place for them to contact me if they have any other questions or concerns or suggestions about the site. They can get in touch. I can get back in touch with them. I definitely probably would have had a single column template instead of the 2 columns I had here. I found that the navigation on the side and the about probably weren't necessary, and having that extra 200 or 250 pixels probably would have allowed my grids to be a little bit wider, maybe put some more information, or at least have it a little more readable, so things like face-to-face here on this one wouldn't be stacked. It'd be probably a little bit more readable and look a little bit nicer. I left it because I started to grow on me by the time I got to the end of the week, and That's the way it looked, and I like the way it looked, but going back to the beginning, I probably would have picked something a little simpler and give me a lot more space. And the last thing that I probably would change is that I'm still looking for is, I like to call it the wow factor. I think it's the marketer in me, the promoter in me that I've had for so long. I tried to find something that would really make this stand out. With all this talk about Steve Jobs at the end of this week and talk about Apple and their products and how they weren't necessarily new products, but they made products that made people want them. So I'm trying to think of something that would make this site, what makes it unique and special, what would make it stand out from any other site out there and make people really want to come here and use this product. So that's my application. You liked it? Any questions?
All right, so you presented that really clean. How many times did you practice that presentation?
Twice.
Is there any advice that you can give for those coming behind you on their presentations?
Practice at least twice. Have a good group of guys to practice with. Practice a couple times with Juan and Marcus and the guys and Greg, and definitely we were able to help each other. Talk about what we would like, what we didn't like about what they did, but and just be yourself. It's not no one's gonna bite your head off if it doesn't go the way you want. So, yes, sir.
Can you navigate to your company's page?
Marcus, could you navigate to the company's page?
Did you have a, maybe it wasn't here, but it looked like a couple of places in your website you have drop-down lists.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, obviously, many places in your website you've got lists of content.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just kind of curious about, it looks like some of those were in a particular order, maybe alphabetical order, and some of those maybe were in an order that
Mm-hmm.
was behind the scenes or weren't in an order. Can you give me some,
Some of them were like, if you go to, I think on the company page, if you go to edit company, just pick one, Marcus.
Yeah, that's...
If you go to edit it and you go to the industry, I think I did alphabetize that. I knew that was going to be a pretty large list, and so at that point I took the time to do an order by. Some of the other ones I didn't. Some of it was just time, some of it was probably right now that I knew there weren't going to be as many things in the in that table that so I wasn't worried about being ordered. But that one for sure I knew was when I entered it. Honestly, I went to Career Builder and just stole the clear list. Just entered it in my database, and knowing it was pretty large, just having it in a random order would have been tough. But that one I know I made a conscious effort to do. The other ones I think I just kind of left at random. But that was definitely one where I for sure wanted to make sure I ordered it alphabetically.
So you did it at the T-SQL level?
Yeah.
So you did order.
Yeah.
You didn't do anything from the app level?
Pretty sure I did it back with an order.
Cool.
Thank you.
All right, very good.
Very good.